Now then YouTube, I am the Toff Man and welcome back to some more 999. We are here and I've got to say guys that we've got a choice here. We've got an actual choice here. It says here she was right. If they added 7, 5 plus 6 plus 8 plus 7 is 26, 2 plus 6 is 8. Then the 4 of them could go through the number 8 door. But what about the other 4? Why don't you add them up? That was simple enough. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. The digital root for those 4 would be 1. That's right. And you know the number 1 door isn't in the big hospital room, right? Of course I know that. No. Are you saying we should leave them behind? Of course not. What kind of a woman do you think I am? Once we get off the ship, we could come back and rescue them, couldn't we? Then we wouldn't really be leaving them behind. My God, my voice, man. Don't try to lie to us. I don't think you'd do anything of the sort. Really? Why do you think that? You remember, don't you? We have less than 5 hours left. Even if we manage to escape, there's no way we could come back to rescue them in less than 5 hours. Well, you never know until you try. No. 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 You're not thinking this through. Even if we brought 7 with us, we wouldn't be able to get off the ship. The 4 of us couldn't open door 9.
It is hidden, but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9.
Yeah, that's right. The digital root for us 4 will be 8. So we'd have to add Ace to make 9. Right. Unless we bring Ace 2, we'll be stuck. Lotus scratched the back of her ear. Oh. Well, that's unfortunate. She didn't sound particularly bothered by what Junpei said, nor did she seem particularly surprised. Well, let's try to find another way, okay? A way out, a way to get out of here with all 8 of us. That's impossible. Are you being serious? You do know that only 5 people at most can go through one of the numbered doors, right? The number 9 isn't going to be an exception to that rule. Regardless, at least 3 people will get left behind. This is true. You're right. That is true. The moment he said it, Junpei felt a chill run down his spine. It was true. How Lotus could remain so cavalier and so terrifying a prospect was beyond him. When they found the number 9, they would have to choose which 3 of them would die. Lotus's forehead furrowed. Do you think I could have a moment alone? There are some things I need to think about. Blah 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 blah. Junpei and June turned and began walking away from Lotus. Talking to her had left them feeling ill. Junpei's heart felt heavy and his steps sluggish. But he told himself pessimism wouldn't get them anywhere. So he forced himself to smile and turned to June. Let's just focus on finding Snake for now, okay? Yes, you're right. We can think about those other things later. Junpei nodded. Alright, where should we go next? The hallway with the rooms, back to the large... Well, we've been practically everywhere. So let's go back to the hospital room. Hey, why don't we go back to the big hospital room? Sure. Let's go. They took off at a run down the stairs. On their way to the large hospital room, Junpei and June noticed Santa standing next to the door, number 3 door. Junpei paused. What should Junpei do? Talk to him. May as well. Stood there doing no. It should be finding people. Junpei and June walked up to Santa. What do you want for Christmas? What are you doing? What? Can't you tell, man? I'm checking out the red. Why? Is there something bothering you? What? It's not bothering you, man? Woman? Huh? The guts of this red. Why wouldn't you wonder who the hell put it back in there? Oh, for God's sake. Why wouldn't you wonder who the hell put it back in here? Man. Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm curious too, but who do you think did it, man? Santa's eyes narrowed as he looked at June. She shook her head. I don't know. Well, what about you, Jumper? Who do you think fixed this thing for us, man? Oh, God. Someone other than the 8 of them. Zero, Lotus, or Snake. I think someone other than the 8 of them. Maybe there's someone else on this ship with us? You mean someone hiding here, man? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just an idea. And you're saying this mystery person fixed the Reds? Yeah. Why? That's, I don't know. Santa shoved his hand into his pockets and cracked his knuckles. Seems unlikely, man. Why? I don't know, just a feeling. Hard to believe Zero would be bringing a secret 10th player, man. I mean, the name of the game is the Nonary game, for Christ's sake. You know what Nonary means, right, man? It means 9. No, that's not what I meant. I mean more like someone's been living here for a long time. Or someone who, like, stayed here. Seriously, man? That's even more ridiculous. Why do you think Zero would leave them alone? Jumpy furrowed his brow. I think it's actually Zero that's doing it. So, in other words, one of us is the person who fixed the red. Santa grinned. Bingo, man. We have a winner. But if that's true, then the person who did it doesn't want the rest of us to know they fixed the red. Yeah. But why? No idea, man. Maybe if they come clean on that, it means we find out something else. Something bad. Something bad? Dunno, man. But whatever it is, it's gotta be worth hiding. Of course. It could have something to do with Snake's disappearance, man. You think maybe they did something to Snake? It's not out of the question. Jumpy stared at Santa. There was something about him that made Jumpy wary. At first he'd assumed the other man wasn't terribly clever, but Jumpy was beginning to think that he would need to reevaluate that assessment. When Santa spoke again, his voice was quiet. Look, if you trust anybody in this game, man, you're gonna lose. You gotta be careful, man. The person you trust the most could be the one the person you trust the most could turn out to be the one who stabs you in the back, man. With that depressing suggestion, he turned and quietly walked away. I reckon it's she's fucking about in my head. Jumpy and June looked at one another and smiled awkwardly. Blob, 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 blob. Where would they go next? Well, we've already been to all of these. What? Well, we never actually checked with him, did we? Let's go and have a look at the hall with all the rooms. I'll go wherever you do. Let's go. They quickened their pace and headed for the bow. There must be something I'm missing here. Blob, blob, blob. There was no sign of anyone. Snake, of course, was nowhere to be found. They would have to look somewhere else. But where? Jesus. First class cabin again? Let's go check out the first class cabin. Okay. I'm coming with you. They turned and headed toward B deck. Come on, man. Blob, blob, blob. No one was there. Jumpy figured out they might have more luck somewhere else. But where? The casino. Let's go back there again. Let's go take a look. They turned and headed off down the hallway to their right at a jog. Come on now. There was no one there. They had no choice. Jumpy and June turned around and headed to a different location. So we can't go back there. We can't go back to the large hospital room. Why? Hey, why don't we go back to the big hospital room? Sure, let's go. They took off at a run down the stairs. There was no one to be seen. What next? My god, finish searching. There is literally nowhere else that we can go. They looked everywhere they could think of, but Snake was nowhere to be found. Oh dear. Blob, 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 blob. Lotus looked around at 6 frustrated faces and spoke. We can't keep looking for Snake. Wherever he is not here. We need to get moving. Jumpy couldn't disagree with what she was saying. Snake seemed to have completely disappeared. There was no point to wasting any more time. The others seemed to be having similar thoughts, but they stayed silent. Finally, 7 spoke.
We don't got a choice. Lotus is right. We're not gonna find Snake. There's a problem though. We've got to figure out who's gonna go through which door.
Yes, I have a proposal. She walked back and forth across the floor, her heels clicking against the wood. Finally, she stopped. Why don't we decide on one person to sacrifice? What the hell? Sacrifice, man? Well, perhaps that's a bit of a harsh word, but yeah. You've all figured out by now, haven't you? We can't all make it through those doors. If we split into 2 teams of 4 and 3 people respectively, then 3 people will be left behind. If we split into 2 teams of 5 people respectively, then 2 people will be left behind. But if we split into 2 groups of 3 and leave 1 person out, then 1 person will be left behind, leaving behind 3 people with 2 teams of 4 and 3. No. No. Jumpy wasn't quite sure that that was true. Wait a minute. 2 people get left behind if we split into 5 and 2. And 1 person is left behind if we split into 3, 3 and 1. I got that part. You can't go through the number doors with any less than 3 people. But if we split into 4 and 3, then why do 3 people have to get left behind? Just run through the numbers. Let's say we go through door 7 with 1, 4, 5 and 6. Who's left over? That would be 3, 7, 8. What's the digital route for that? Add 8 and 9. Exactly. But door 9 isn't here, right? That means 3, 7, 8 won't be going anywhere. That's just an example, of course. There are a lot of different combinations, but the result will always be the same. It doesn't matter which 4 it is. The 3 that are left over can't go through any of the doors. Go ahead and calculate it. If you have the time, you'll see. Anyway, that's how it is. Now, if we can get back to my proposal, we only have to sacrifice 1 person if we split into 3, 3 and 1. I thought we can't get less than... What? When 7 spoke, his voice was strained.
Then, you're saying we gotta decide who's gonna stay behind?
Yes, we do. Given our circumstances, it's logically and morally the best solution. If the other 6 answers 5, then 1 person has to sacrifice themselves. No, that's too cruel. What's so cruel about it? To just sacrifice someone like that. Then what's your plan? Maybe we should sacrifice 2 people instead of just 1. That's not what I meant. We shouldn't sacrifice anyone. I told you, that's impossible. Wake up. Whoa, calm down, you 2, man. Santa stepped between Lotus and June. Look, what Lotus is trying to say is that we should aim to bring the greatest amount of happiness to the greatest amount of people, man. Right? Exactly. That's how democracy works. And for that reason, I think the only fair way to decide who will be sacrificed is through a vote. Oh, for God's sake. What do you think? I'm sick to death of doing her voice, man. It's making me... No, that's terrible. I'm not asking you. Shut up. What about you, Senna? Me, man? Well, I agree, I guess. Alright, that's 1 vote for. Counting mine, that's 2. 7?
I can't say I agree with you, but we don't exactly have a choice. If we don't do something, we're all gonna die.
Glad to see you get it. If I can get one more vote, then it's decided. What about you, Clover? When did she come back? Clover had moved away from the group and was sitting on one of the beds. She's going to say no, surely. Her whole body drooped. Jumpy didn't know if she was heard Lotus's proposal. Lotus walked over to Clover and gently laid a hand on her shoulder. Your brother has to be behind one of the numbered doors. We searched everywhere, but we didn't find him. Doesn't that mean he has to have gone through one of them somehow? Clover slowly lifted her face. Let's go look for him together, okay? If we sacrifice one person, then we can go look for him. You agree with me, right? Clover nodded once. Heep! The motion carries! Oh my god. Lotus spun around and walked towards Jumpy. Now let's start a vote to... That won't be necessary. Ace had barely spoken for Lotus's entire speech, and everyone jumped a little. 6 pairs of eyes turned to look at him. He didn't seem to notice or even care. I will stay. That should solve our problem, yes? Ace, what are you saying? No, you can't do that. That won't solve anything. June's voice shook, and she looked around desperately for someone to agree with her. Ace simply looked at her. June, I'm afraid you may have misunderstood me. I said I would stay, but I never said I would sacrifice myself. Huh? I trust you, each and every one of you. I believe you'll come back for me.
Whoa, 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 there's optimistic and there's just nuts. Those doors only go one way, you go in, you don't come out. If we go through them...
You won't be able to return, correct?
Yeah.
True, but that will not be the case once you've escaped from the ship.
What?
Please, I beg you, once you've escaped, come back and rescue me. Ideally within the time limit Zero has given us. Yeah, if you don't mind, just do it in the time limit so I don't blast into a million pieces. That would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. Cheers. No, that's ridiculous. There's no way we could get back in time. Finally, Jumpy could hold his tongue no longer. We've only got 5 hours left. We don't even know where the hell we are. How on earth are we going to find someone to come and rescue you? Then perhaps you would prefer to stay instead of me? Or perhaps you would be willing to leave June behind? Ace's voice was dignified and without a hint of cruelty or malice. Jumpy had no rebuttal. Yeah, I ain't heard that word for a long time. You see, there's no other choice. Then I see we've come to our conclusion. Go on, don't worry yourselves about me. Go quickly. Jumpy stood frozen by indecision, unable to move. June bit her lips so hard that Jumpy feared she would break the skin. Santa stood against the wall, calm and aloof. Seven tore his beanie from his head and turned it over anxiously in his hand. Only Clover stared at Ace with an expression Jumpy was unable to decipher. Lotus's attitude, however, was different from the others. Good. Let's accept his kind offer then. She smiled, her eyes bright. And Ace answered it with a smile of his own. Good. I think this is best for me. Perhaps I'll be able to take a nap. Perhaps it's my age, but I get tired so easily these days. As he spoke, Ace lowered himself down to the floor next to one of the beds. From somewhere deep in the ship, Jumpy suddenly heard a screeching of metal on metal. It was almost as if the ship was screaming. Would it really hold until their time limit was up? Already D-deck was flooded. In the sudden silence, the only sound was sad metal wail of the ship. Unsurprisingly, it was Lotus who spoke first. Oh, please don't keep speaking. Well, what are we waiting for? We're wasting time. Why don't we hurry it up? As if a spell had been broken, the others all began to talk at once.
You're right. We should get going. That's all we can do right now.
7. Seriously, man. Honestly, I was getting kind of sick of listening to you guys talk. You too, Santa? I have to find my brother. Wait, all of you. Let's just calm down and think about this. There has to be a way to get everyone out. There has to be. Right, Jumpy? Say something. Yeah, let's think. There's got to be another way. His words sounded hollow and fake. Fine. Forget about it. I'll figure it out on my own. She spun around and ran towards Ace. He had slumped down next to the bed when June grabbed his arm and pulled. Come on, Ace, please stand up. You can't give up yet. We just have to sit down together and think about this. We'll figure out a way that we can get out of here. Then it happened. Ace fell forward. He slumped over onto the wooden floor, his body folded in half like a boxer out cold. Ace! June cried out and dropped to her knees beside him. She put her arm around his neck and did her best to lift him up. What happened, Ace? Say something. She shook him frantically. His eyes fluttered open.
Ugh.
I'm alright. His voice was weak and slightly slurred. How are you fine? This... He held out his left arm and slowly opened his hand. In it was a syringe and a small vial. The vial was empty. It had only been recently emptied. A few drops clung to the sides. There was a label taped to the side of the container. It read, Soperil Beta. Soperil Beta? Jumpy had no idea what it meant or what kind of medicine it might be. Alright guys, I think we're going to be leaving that there. We'll find out next episode what exactly he had in his hand there. Not sure what Soperil Beta is, but I'm sure we'll find out in the next episode. Until then, I've been the Top Man. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, stay safe. God, my voice.